What is happening today on Capitol Hill is typically a routine process, but dozens of Republicans are now pledging to fight the election results to keep President Trump in power. In just a few hours, the House and the Senate will meet in a joint session to count the Electoral College votes and make President-elect Biden's win official. Nancy Cordes is following the latest on Capitol Hill and is joining us now. So Nancy, you've really been looking back at other joint sessions like this, and we learned from you that it typically takes about 20 minutes, pretty, boring procedure. Not today. Do we have any idea what we can expect today? What are the arguments that we expect some Republicans to put forward to challenge the results?
Well, they are going to argue, Anne-Marie, that this is their only opportunity to air their concerns about supposed voting irregularities. So they need to take this opportunity to highlight their concerns about voter fraud, even though there isn't any evidence that it occurred in some wide-scale fashion. So they are going to object to the Electoral College results in somewhere between 3 and 6 battleground states that were won by President-elect Biden in November, and won in convincing fashion in many of those states. Now, some of their Republican colleagues say it's over. This is not the forum. What they want to do amounts to disenfranchising voters, but the pressure on Republicans to go along with this is intense. We're starting to see scenes where Republican senators who've said they're not going to go along are being confronted by protesters outside the Capitol, even on an airplane. Last night, Mitt Romney of Utah was traveling back for this event, and the entire plane, which was filled with pro-Trump protesters who were coming here as well today to be in the streets, were chanting "traitor, traitor," while the plane was in the air. It was really an intense and unusual moment. So it shows just how intense the pressure is on these Republicans to go along with what some of their colleagues want to do. But the pushback is pretty intense as well. And we're told that actually Senate Leader Mitch McConnell is going to be leading the charge against this today, arguing that it is not the right thing to do, but this is still going to drag out most likely for hours and hours, Anne-Marie, not the 20 or 30 minutes that we've talked about seeing in the past.
So earlier in the show, we actually played a little bit of this same thing that happened during the last election. This time it was Vice President Biden, and there was an objection put forth, and he sort of shot it down. And one of the things that he pointed out is that you need both a member of Congress and a member of the Senate to kind of put forth the objection. There's been a lot of talk about how the impact that the races in Georgia will have on the outcome of the Senate. Kelly Loeffler, it's now, projected that she has lost her race, though she hasn't conceded. We're still waiting to find out what is happening with David Perdue. Both of them had said that they would support these sorts of objections. Does what's happening in Georgia now, is that going to play any role with these proceedings at all?
I think it's playing a psychic role. I think that there are many Republican aides who, frankly, have told us behind the scenes that they don't support what some of their bosses are doing here. They think it's futile. But beyond that, it is causing some soul searching about why this group of Republicans has chosen to go this route. Because after all, you could make a pretty convincing case, Anne-Marie, that President Trump's refusal to accept the election results and the crusade that he has gone on in Georgia to argue that those results in that state were invalid really hurt his party's 2 Senate candidates there. And if Republicans lose control of the Senate over the president's refusal to accept the results, then it is a very unusual move, to say the least, to kind of double down on this and go to bat for him today, to continue to argue that the vote was somehow fraudulent. So there are a lot of Republicans saying, look, it's time to do some soul searching. It is time to create a little bit of distance between us and President Trump. But I don't expect that you're going to see a big change of heart from the Republican lawmakers who have already committed to do this today. I mean, I do think it's possible we may not see Kelly Loeffler. I mean, her race we are now projecting is going to go to Raphael Warnock, but the state hasn't certified the results, so she would have a valid claim if she wanted to say she has to stay in Georgia to monitor what's going on. It may not be her first priority to come up here to Washington today, but we'll see.
And I think we need to point out to people that, yeah, though the expectation is that this is going to drag out, it's not going to change the outcome. This is procedural. It's already a done deal, right? The electors have already voted. And I say that because the president keeps insisting that the vice president can do something about this, right? There were reports that even the vice president had said to him, that's not the case, Mr. President. Now Donald Trump is saying, no, you know, Vice President Pence never said that. I'm looking at Donald Trump's last tweet out before he went to bed in the wee hours of the morning. If Vice President Mike Pence comes through for us, we will win the presidency. Nancy, can you just sort of separate fact from fiction? What is the role of the vice president? Does he have any power at all in this situation?
The role of the vice president today and the role of Congress, which he's presiding over for this process, is to count. That's it. They get the Electoral College results from each state. They read them out loud, they count out the Electoral College votes, and guess what? They don't even have to do the math. It's already been done. We know that President-elect Biden has 306 electoral votes, and then the vice president announces the winner, and that's it. You know, the president is claiming that somehow Mr. Pence can go further and overturn the results of the election. A senior administration official tells CBS News that Vice President Pence does not believe that to be the case, regardless of what the president is saying on Twitter. And by the way, the president is saying increasingly untrue things on Twitter about this very process. He's now saying the states want Congress to reject these Electoral College tallies and send them back to the states because they've had second thoughts and they want to replace the electors with new electors. None of that is true. These races have all been certified weeks ago by the various states. The numbers have been sent to Congress. They are set in stone. And as if to put a fine point on it, Anne Marie, we got an announcement from former President George W. Bush yesterday, a Republican, saying that he very much looks forward to attending the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden on January 20th.
And there you have it. Some people are calling this a stunt. Maybe you might want to call it a strong statement. Whatever it is, once again, it does not change the outcome of this election. Joe Biden is going to be the next president. Nancy, thank you so much.
You're welcome.